Look, what if I told you there's one specific phrase you probably use all the time that is literally the most expensive thing you will ever say? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to entirely rewire your financial logic. You see, most people stay stuck financially not because they're short on cash, but because they're using language that completely kills their creativity. So, in our time together today, we're going to eliminate that toxic phrase from your vocabulary and replace it with a psychological hack that millionaires use to find opportunities where everybody else just sees brick walls. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the most expensive phrase, escaping the scarcity trap, the 3-word mindset hack, value versus price tag, and finally, we'll wrap up with the 1% rule. All right, starting with section 1. The most expensive phrase and the hidden cost of our words. To kick things off, we really need to understand a foundational concept here. Everyday financial decision-making, it isn't just about math. It's actually like 80% psychology. And here is the ultimate trap. I can't afford it. Now, this everyday phrase isn't just some harmless observation about your current bank balance. It literally acts as a command, telling your brain to just stop working. When you drop those 4 words, you've essentially told your subconscious mind, hey, case closed. There's absolutely no solution here. Let's pack it up. In psychology, this biological shutdown is called cognitive closure. See, your brain is basically a survival machine that is hardwired to save energy. Think of it like this. You know when you open your fridge, you don't see any ready-made meals, and you instantly just think, there's no food. That right there is the scarcity trap in action. But if you actually look at the raw ingredients and ask, okay, what can I cook with this? You instantly bypass that shutdown. When you declare that you can't afford something, your brain immediately stops looking for ways to get what you want, just to conserve energy. You're effectively turning off your own financial intelligence. Sure, it makes you feel safe in the moment because it justifies your current situation, but man, it firmly blocks your future wealth. Because let's be logical. If you never look for a way, you're never, ever going to find one. Moving right along to section 2, escaping the scarcity trap. This is all about going from a passive victim to an active architect of your wealth. So think of it this way. On one hand, you have a mental period, I can't afford it. End of sentence. On the other hand, you have a mental question mark. How can I afford it? By simply replacing that period with a question mark, you force your brain completely out of its biological slumber. And listen, this isn't just some fluffy, toxic positivity exercise. This is a mechanical, logical trigger. When you ask how, your brain simply cannot shut down. It's literally jolted into an active, high-gear problem-solving mode. Which brings us to section 3, the 3-word mindset hack, rewiring for abundance. We need to turn all this theory into a practical habit that you can actually use the very next time you hit a financial roadblock. So, here's a step-by-step guide to serve as your trigger. Step 1. You've got to catch yourself actually saying the phrase. Awareness is totally key here. Step 2. Immediately stop, swap it out, and ask the question, how can I? And then step 3, just let your brain do what it does best. Seriously, when you ask that question, your brain transforms into this scanning radar, just relentlessly searching for opportunities. It starts scanning your environment for hidden resources, maybe new side hustles you could easily start, random assets sitting in the back of your closet that you could sell, or even skills you already possess that you could start monetizing today. Next up is section 4, value versus price tag, focusing on return on investment. Here's a massive secret. When analyzing everyday decisions, wealthy people simply don't look at their bank balance first. Nope, they look at the potential return. Because the upfront cost of something is often completely irrelevant if the output is significantly greater. The math behind this mindset is honestly fascinating. Let's say there's a piece of work equipment you really need, like a faster computer or some specialized software, that costs $1,000 upfront. But using that upgraded tool to launch a new side project is projected to bring in a $5,000 return. If you just glance at the price tag and say, I can't afford it, you aren't actually saving $1,000. You are literally costing yourself $4,000 in lost value. That right there is the loss of inaction. If the return is clearly there, the question, how can I afford it, shifts from a wish into a critical mission to find that seed money for a harvest that's worth so much more. Let's head into our final section, section 5, the 1% rule, building wealth confidence. Now, I know you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but what if I literally do not have the money right now? Well, the absolute beauty of this whole system is that you don't need to manifest massive amounts of seed money overnight. Escaping the scarcity trap actually starts with immediate, small, logical wins.
If you want something that costs a bit more than what you've currently got, just break it down. Can you save just 1% more this week? Could you maybe cut just one unused streaming subscription or sell just one old textbook or video game online? These highly relatable 1% wins are perfect everyday examples, especially for you students out there who are maybe just starting to manage your own budgets for the very first time. When you're just starting out, asking, "How can I?" trains you to find those small, logical gaps in your spending. And here's the best part. Every single time you find a creative way to afford something you initially thought was completely out of reach, you're actively building your wealth confidence. You're proving to yourself with hard evidence that money is a manageable resource, not some terrifying barrier. Wealth is ultimately built through a series of exactly these kinds of small, logical wins.
So, to apply this mindset hack to your own life today, I want to leave you with a question. What is one thing you've been telling yourself you can't afford? And how can you actually afford it? I challenge you to trigger your brain into action right now, today. Change the language, change the logic, and completely transform yourself from a passive victim into an active architect of your own future. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this invites some true wealth confidence into your daily life.